Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So with the beginning of October, we're getting into the fall anime season. So I wanted to talk about my 5 favorite shows from the summer lineup. Now, really quick, I am including anything that ended in fall. So if it started in spring, but it had like 26 episodes or something, and it ended in fall, then I'm including it in this list. So I'm going to talk about 5 of my favorites and 2 honorable mentions and why they didn't actually make it into my favorites. So let's get started. Number 5, Kyokai no Rinne. Now I need to put a little bit of a disclaimer with this because I am hugely biased to anything that Rumiko Takahashi comes out with, because Ranma and Half was the first anime that I got into outside of Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Voltron, Robotech, all of those in the late 90s. I found a VHS at Hollywood Video and took it home and my obsession was born. I've seen everything that she does, minus quitting Inuyasha halfway through. That is a discussion we are never gonna have. But anyway, when I first found out that Rinne came out, I was really excited. I was excited to see her come up with something new. So even more so when the anime was announced. One of the reasons that I really liked this anime, a lot of people haven't talked about it, but one of the reasons that I really liked it was because it kind of shared the randomness that Ranma and Half did. Inuyasha kind of was going along the same path, and you could figure out where it was going after a short amount of time, but Rinne's kind of just kept it really lighthearted and fun, and Takahashi is doing what she does best. Mamiya Sakura is probably one of my favorite female protagonists that she's ever created, just because she's a little bit dim, but she's not stupid. She's just not really aware of like, spoiler alert, Rinne's feelings for her. So I don't know, he's aware of his. So anyway, but yeah, I really like all of the characters. She definitely sticks to certain tropes when it comes to her characters. The rivals, the rival love interests, and how they interact with each other, and then how they interact with the protagonists. But all in all, there wasn't a single episode that I could probably say was like, oh, well, this is boring. There was always something that was interesting to me. And I gotta say, he's an asshole, but one of my favorite characters has to be Rin's father. Oh, what a sorry sucker. And I feel even worse for Rinne because he's got to deal with him. But, you know, he's a hilarious character to me, and he just never stops. So one of the best things about this is that there's going to be a 2nd season coming out in spring of next year. So the madness continues. Number 4, Shokugeki no Soma. Now, I don't even know how to describe this or why I like it other than food. Food. Like, I know I'm not the only person out there that looks at cartoon food, whether it's Miyazaki cartoon food, Disney, or anime, and just is like, I need that in my stomach now. Literally everything he made, well, okay, no, I lied. Not literally everything, because some of the things that he made to make them absolutely gross did make my skin crawl. And yeah, I wouldn't want to try that in a million years. With that being said, literally everything else he made, especially at the school, was just... I think the one thing that I want to try, though, out of everything is that the rice dish that he made at the very beginning, that Nakiri was like, she knew it was delicious, but she stubbornly said, no, it's not. To this day, that's what's in my head, and I'm like, you know what, I need that recipe. Which reminds me, though, my husband told me that they're coming out with a cookbook for all of the recipes that are, I think, either in the anime or the manga, probably both. And I told him that if there's anything in the world that you want to get me for my birthday, for Christmas, for our anniversary, give me that cookbook, because food. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I totally ship Tadokoro and Soma. Totally. I think they make like the perfect little adorable couple. But my other favorite characters are probably gonna have to be the Aldini brothers. Especially later on, spoiler alert, when you find out that the younger brother gets skinny every summer, and then he gets fat again. I thought that was pretty hysterical. Number 3, Shimoneta. So this was on a lot of people's favorites, and I think it's pretty self-explanatory why. It's hysterical. I mean, just that opening sequence, I'm never gonna look at a daikon the same again. Anytime I go shopping, that image of her flashes through my head, and I have to giggle to myself. But another one of the reasons that I really like this, beyond the obvious perverseness and hilarity in all the sexual humor, was that it really makes you kind of reevaluate all of the things that are either subliminally dirty or unintentionally dirty. Like, I have to stop and think, obviously there's that joke, you can put "that's what she said" onto the end of something to make it, funny. But other than that, even to myself, I'd be thinking something, or I would see something on TV, or something that I would never have thought to be actually dirty before, and then I think about it and I'm like, But yeah, that was probably my favorite thing. I'm not gonna lie and say that I liked Anna. A lot of people liked Anna, and I can't stand her. People will be like, oh, well, yeah, she made that show, and I'm just like, no, she can play in traffic. I really can't stand her. So number 2, Gate. And this is one that I actually have not seen a lot of people talk about, but I was not initially going to watch it or even finish it until I actually watched it with my husband. And it's always these series that kind of pop up that I really, really love. So he's got great taste, but it's just getting him to actually sit down and watch it with me and not play Destiny. One of the reasons that I really, really liked Gate was it had a nostalgic feeling to it. Being that it's like this modern plus fantasy, 2 different worlds, it really reminded me of the old fantasy series that I used to watch, like Record of Lodoss War or Slayers. It kind of made me reminisce a lot during a lot of the either fights that they had or the character interactions. And I miss that. Sure, some things are questionable. When I think about to those retro titles, I'm just like, oh man, I wish they made something more like that. But the other thing that I really, really appreciated about this was that the main character was a doof. The whole reason he gets sucked into all of this is because he wants to go by Dojin. I connect with that on a spiritual level. And the best part is him being a nerd is that he's not typical. It isn't a high school setting where, he's a nerd. He's a regular guy that's going to buy his collection and somehow earns all this greatness. That was pretty funny to learn about though, but I won't spoil too much of that if you haven't seen it. But yeah, I highly recommend Gate. If you have not watched it, go watch it now. It's currently only 12 episodes for the fall season, but this is another one, just like Hyokai no Nene, they're going to be renewing in spring for another 12 episodes, I believe. So I'm really excited to see it, to continue. And number 1, my favorite anime of the 2015 fall season is Akagami no Shirayuki Hime. This is another one that I really didn't see a lot of people talk about or put on their favorites. But for me, I just couldn't get enough of it. At the end of the day, I am a shoujo girl. I love shoujo series. And I love a really well-written one that doesn't have a lot of the typical tropes that you run into with shoujo fiction. The character development between Zen and Shirayuki was just so natural that I couldn't help falling in love with them too. And especially the last few episodes. Oh. I'm not gonna spoil it for you because if you haven't watched it, I don't want to give it away. It works out so well that I had to watch those last episodes again. Sometimes I do that where if something happens that makes me really, really, really happy, I'm like, you know what, now I'm just gonna watch this over and again for like the next 3 days. I'm good. I actually really want to start reading the manga just because it kind of affected me that much. Like I became that interested in it. And I usually don't really have time to keep up with manga, or I do, but then I end up not paying attention to it and skipping and then getting out. This one I really want to get into. I know it's supposed to be like the red-haired Snow White, but to be entirely honest, being like the fairy tale fan that I am, I didn't really see a lot of connotation or connection with that. You know, I think I can kind of get it, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, no, it just seems like people are saying that for the sake of saying that. But maybe that'll change in the future. This was also renewed, so we will be expecting another half in, I believe, spring or summer. Possibly one of those. I actually haven't checked, or I'm mixing them up. But I'm excited because next year I definitely have 3 different titles to look forward to. But yeah, so that is my top 5. And I'm going to go start watching the fall season. I think I said that these are top 5 for fall, but no, I didn't mean that. I meant top 5 for summer. I'm getting mixed up. But there's a ton of titles for fall that I am following right now. And I usually have a 3-episode rule, so I'm going to keep up with up to 3 episodes, and if it doesn't interest me after that, then I usually drop it. Before I go, I do want to talk about my 2 honorable mentions. First one is Ore Monogatari. And this was just a really super sweet series. I admit, like the first 5 or 6 episodes, I was waiting for something bad to happen. Like, it felt like it was too good to be true. So I was waiting for somebody to be two-faced or backstabbed. And that never happened. So I ended up just watching it and I was just like, oh, this is such a feel-good anime. It makes me happy. And it made me, I enjoyed seeing Takeo's character. Like, you don't really get that in a shoujo. You know, I mentioned I really love shoujo anime and manga, but you don't really get that type of protagonist in a shoujo. So I thought, I don't know what he's doing, but yeah, so you don't really get that in a shoujo title. So that's really what kept me interested. And then also I was super happy that Makoto had the same name as my son, because that's my son's Japanese name. So I was like, oh, baby boy, that's what you need to be. You need to grow up and be cool like that. Wishful thinking, right? My second honorable mention is Roka no Yusha. And this was a top favorite for a lot of people because of the storyline and the character development. But the reason it didn't actually make it to my top 5 was because of the storyline and the development. At this time, there is no expectations for a second season. And after all of that, where they basically drag you up and down and all around with the main character trying to figure things out, only to kind of leave you hanging at the beginning of a story, was a little bit upsetting to me. I don't like when they do that. Yes, the development was phenomenal from start to finish. It had you wondering, you know, who was the 7th one, but after finding it out and then, you know, looking it up, like, oh, when's season 2? Oh, okay, well, there is no season 2 right now. I was pissed. You know, it's a light novels, so I don't know if I'm gonna have time to actually read them and find out what happens later, but you know, that's why it wasn't actually one of my top. I loved it. I loved the animation, I loved the characters, but it's the way it ended that really upset me. So that is it. If I forgot to mention anything, then I'm going to leave it in the description box below. So be sure to check that out for any other comments that I make that, you know, just I'm forgetting right now. At the moment, I don't have any plans to do kind of like a fall what am I watching video, because I end up dropping so many. Well, usually I end up dropping so many that I'd rather just kind of do a recap either halfway through of what I'm watching or at the end, my favorites. But let me know in the comments below what you're watching. If you follow me on Twitter, I usually talk a lot about what I'm watching there and screen caps and whatnot. So you can definitely find me on there. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.